Got you. All right, ready? Let's see. Make sure this rolls. Hey there, everyone. I'm News 6 meteorologist Samara Kokinas, coming from you live from the News 6 studio. And basically what we're looking at, we're bringing you an update here on Idalia. Now, the thing about this storm is it's been getting closer and closer and closer to becoming a hurricane. So it continues to strengthen. You can see it here on the tropical satellite. Just a lot of convection blowing up near the western tip of Cuba tonight. Now, the reason why they haven't called it a hurricane yet, they haven't really found a well-defined eye with this storm yet. So there's going to be a couple of different scenarios here. One of them is if the eye forms a little bit like in between the Yucatan Peninsula and western Cuba, it'll stay on the model guidance. However, if it forms closer to western Cuba over land or near the land, that's where we could potentially see a shift or a change rather there in the model guidance and in the forecast track. So it's something that we're going to watch very closely. But for now, as of the 8 o'clock advisory, keep in mind tonight at 11, we will have a new track advisory and potentially a new intensity forecast coming out there too. So when we look at this particular track, it does continue to bring Idalia into the southeastern Gulf, strengthening as a Category 1 storm, which we do believe is going to happen tonight. Now, by Tuesday afternoon, so tomorrow today's Monday, Tuesday, sorry, I work the weekends, so I'm a little off on my days, but by Tuesday afternoon at about 2 o'clock, we're looking at potentially seeing a Category 2 hurricane, and then notice by early morning Wednesday, a Category 3 storm as it continues to get closer and closer to the Gulf Coast, as of right now, making landfall to our north and west, just north of Tampa. So over the weekend and earlier this morning, it still had Tampa in the cone, back to the Big Bend, but we're more focused right now on the Big Bend. The thing is, what this cone shows you is where the center of a storm has the potential to go. So it could go to the west, it could go closer to the east, and that will definitely change over the next 24 hours. Plus, what we'll also notice changing is, the magnitude of what we could see here locally. So, of course, if it moves back, making landfall a little bit further north, what we're looking at are less impacts here. I mean, we're still going to be dealing with some wicked weather, but the thing is it wouldn't be as if, some areas were still in that cone of uncertainty where we have the potential to see the center of that storm go. So zooming out a little bit, you can see that it continues as a tropical storm as it heads toward the Carolinas. Later in the week, it's going to drag a lot of that moisture away, and we will see gradual clearing there on Wednesday. Here's models. This is what we're talking about. You see that split? There's basically been kind of like a disagreement or so. One is going a little bit closer to, or one set rather, or kind of going closer to the Big Bend, the other set going closer to more of the Panhandle area. So when we look at the model consensus, I mean, there's still that split, and because of the eye wall that I did mention earlier, that's the reason for that. So we also have seen other models shimmying a little bit closer to the Gulf Coast, bringing it in closer a little bit toward Tampa. So we could see the forecast track shift back to the east, but for now it has shifted as of the 5 o'clock advisory earlier this evening a little bit farther west. So we're definitely keeping an eye on that, as well as, of course, to see if it's going to reach hurricane status by the 11 o'clock advisory. Now, as far as winds, this is what we're talking about in terms of wind arrival. So the earliest potential arrival for tropical storm force winds are going to take place late in the day on Tuesday. So ahead of that, you'll notice that the winds start to ramp up, and they start to pick up anywhere between about 15 and almost 20 miles per hour. Now watch this. This is about 5 o'clock. We're already seeing squall lines move through. So we're going to start to see bands of rain associated with Idalia moving through, laying down a lot of rain, potentially bringing some flooding eventually. So when we're talking about the wind speeds, though, look at this. It kind of slows down and it's going to pick back up again. Look at this. On Wednesday morning, we're starting to see those winds, sustained wind speeds. I'm not talking about wind gusts here. Really picking up anywhere between 20 and almost 30 miles per hour, and then they continue as the system moves to the north of us. And then they'll eventually slow down Wednesday night going into Thursday early. Here's a look at wind gusts. As we speed into Tuesday, here's 5 o'clock, you'll notice winds will be gusting upward near 33 miles per hour, but it is quite likely in areas that have tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings like Sumter County, Lake, Polk, Orange, and Seminole, and Western Marion has a hurricane watch. We could see hurricane force wind gusts, quite possible. I'm talking 50 to 60 mile per hour range for Marion, Lake, and Sumter County, and everywhere else staying at about 35 miles per hour or even higher. So it's definitely going to be a little on the windy side. And as those storms really race through, we do have also the potential to see some tornadic activity Tuesday night going into early Wednesday morning. So that'll be something that we continue to watch. But even as we head into, I think I just went over into Wednesday again, so I'm going to go. And there we go. You see this particular model again, Wednesday evening, still winds gusting up near 30 miles per hour. So that wind is going to take some time to slow down as the system drags all the moisture and all the winds with it. They gradually will slow down Wednesday night going into early Thursday morning. Here's the setup. So you notice that we have Hurricane Franklin over in the Atlantic expected to stay offshore. Meanwhile, Idalia basically is being pulled to the north by a mid-level trough. So as it moves to the north, notice it will strengthen, and that has everything to do with the warm seas that we're dealing with in the Gulf of Mexico and the lack of really, potent shear to kind of shred that system apart. So with those two factors in, there's hardly any shear and there's really warm water. We're definitely going to see really big strengthening, possibly reaching that Category 3 hurricane status before making landfall. Now watch this. As we continue to progress the model, you'll notice that it does move back across to the north and east, exiting near the Carolinas. So that's going to be the particular path that it takes. Behind that, we'll be settling into more of a normal pattern as we head into Friday and the weekend. You can expect more normal rain chances. And really, we're not dealing with much rain tonight. In fact, I think most of Central Florida is already dried out. Tomorrow morning, as I walk you hour by hour through this, I want you to really pay attention, because this is where we start to see the gradual increasing rain bands. And of course, I already showed you those wind speeds. And we could also see the potential to see those tornadoes in the squall lines. Watch how gnarly it gets. We're talking 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe a sprinkle or two. Most areas are dry. But by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think that's when we start to see this particular model is kind of not showing it compared to our in-house model, where that one has been showing a few storms rolling through southern Brevard and Osceola counties as early as 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So don't be surprised if you do see that. This model's kind of underselling it a little bit. But by 3 and 4 o'clock, here comes those bands that we were referring to, and you see they really push to the north. And as they continue to do that overnight, that's where we see the potential with those stronger cells that really roll through. That's where we could see some tornadic activity. So I need you to really be paying attention, because those bands continue well into the afternoon on Wednesday before things start to kind of slow down a little bit. So it is going to be a very wet setup, of course, because this is tropical activity we're talking about. But with the tornado risk there Tuesday night going into Wednesday, that's where we really run the risk. We need you guys to be at home and be safe and really taking it seriously at this point, because we are on the dirty side of this storm. Despite where it goes, we're still going to be getting those bands, and that's where it tends to be the strongest. So as we roll through, notice by Thursday, we're seeing the clearing. Okay, we're starting to shape up a little bit. We're still dealing with some residual moisture, but for the most part, it's going to shape up and will be more typical rain pattern with sea breeze collisions and stuff like that going into the weekend. So for tonight, 77 will be your low. And then as we head through the day tomorrow, we rebound to the upper 80s, low 90s. But those rain chances really skyrocket in the second half of the afternoon going into the evening and overnight hours. So that's when it's going to be most active. Now, behind this system, notice your rain chances go down a little bit more. By Friday, we're at 60%. By the weekend, Labor Day holiday weekend, 40 and 50%, and even 40% there, showers and thunderstorms on Labor Day Monday. High temperatures are expected to be quite near normal for the most part, with the exception of the next couple of days, just because of the additional clouds and rain that will be falling. So Chief Meteorologist and Tom Sorrells and myself will be live on air doing team coverage for Idalia with the latest track update. Of course, we'll have new impacts if they've changed, so you'll want to be tuned in for News 6 starting at 11 o'clock tonight. We'll have all of those details to get you prepared and to really let you know exactly what to expect down to the hour and down to the county that you live in. So thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being here. Be safe and just be prepared. See you soon.